Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of Dale's Rails. Well, this week I ran across another one of those locomotives that I've been waiting to add to my collection for quite some time. So I'm really excited about it, and I can't wait to share it with you guys. So grab a seat and come along with me, and let's have a look. Well, this is a model that I've been pursuing for quite some time, and it just, comes up every once in a while, and it's just more than what I want to spend. And so apparently I came to the conclusion that this must be worth a little bit more than the average one. And oddly enough, there was a post-war version of this made. But I imagine if you come across it, it would be pretty rare. So this is an NTC version. Get it out of the box. Pretty heavy. Got a little bit awkward in that box. It's tight. See if I can get it set aside here. Gosh. Kind of hard to hang on to. Let's take a look at this. It's in its original box. So this is an MPC version. I think this was 1979 when this came out. Yeah, this is it. So take a look. Well, the box actually pretty old looking. I think this was functional. So here it is. It's the Southern Pacific Trainmaster. Isn't that cool? Well, that's a nice looking model. Get it out here. And this was in really good shape, so I couldn't pass it up. Paid a little more for it than most of them that I've bought. Boy, that's a sharp looking model. I really like it. And it's a little bit the paint scheme. So this would be the Black Widow, not the Bloody Nose. So it's pretty sharp. Okay, well, here she is ready to run. This is looks to be in really good condition. This was in better condition than the one that I was looking to buy before it. I kind of passed on it. It had broken. Some of these wires here were broken on the handrail sliding around, so it was probably something I could have repaired, but I just thought for the extra money I would just go ahead and splurge on this one, and I think I'm glad I did. This one looks to be really good condition. I don't see any scratches or any blemishes on it. No rust. The handrails are in really good shape. Take a look at the rollers here. The rollers have a little bit of wear mark on it, but not much. So I don't know if this really had much runtime to it. So that'll be a bonus too. Let's try it out and see. Yeah, the E-unit's working fine. Uh-oh. He's squealing a little. Well, fortunately, I happened to speak locomotive, and I'm sure you guys heard it was saying, grease, oil. So I think it's time to take this over to the workbench and service it real quick. Well, here's the inside of your MPC era Trainmaster. They're pretty much just like a post-war. Those are pretty decent motors in here. It's all real pristine looking. I mean, the E units all nice and shiny and clean. So, you know, the motors are pristine. They look, you know, untouched, really. And I noticed this post on here. So, you know, it says this little soldering post on here, if you can see. It's loose, but, you know, it's not pertinent to the operation of the locomotive. This is just an insulator fiber board that rivets in. So it's all soldered here. It's kind of a globbed up looking factory solder job, but you know, it's all made good connection. So I'm not going to be too concerned about anything with that. A little bit interesting here that you know, this motor has red and yellow and black, and this one has all black wire. So that's a little bit surprising. So these are pretty easy to break down. There's just usually one truck screw here. This thing was doing some pretty good squealing. Hard to say where the squealing's coming from. I'm guessing it's probably the motor armature, but you know, I'm going to check the trucks here real quick just to see what type of grease. I mean, at least it was running. These are really easy to service because it's just one screw that holds that on. Yeah, there's still grease in there. I'm surprised. It's still, check it because sometimes you never know. Sometimes it looks wet on the surface, but it's hard down underneath. Yeah, it's still, you know, it's the brown stuff, but I'll probably give a little bit more. So that's really not where the squealing's coming from. I'm not too concerned about that right now at this moment. Okay, we'll try this again here. A little on that. See if that'll improve things a little. Down there, and down there. Start to oil this a little bit. Okay, I think it's time to take it back over the layout and try it out. You know, the thing about a Trainmaster, if you're not sure which way's forward, you can just take the shell off and spin it around. Make forward any. You know, the GG1s are the same way, so I get tickled out of guys trying to figure out which way's forward on these. And, you know, if you don't like the way it's working, just flip the shell around. Okay, we'll take over the layout and try it out. Try it out. You know, this locomotive has really strong magnet traction. They're just like the post-war versions. Oh yeah, that made a world of difference. A little bit of oil. Well, here she is. I'm really excited to be able to add this to my collection and take a close look at here. It's really a nice looking model. And, you know, these are no frills. I mean, this is an MPC era model. It's very much in every way identical to the post-war version. And, you know, your post-war models were the Lackawanna in 1954, the Virginia in 1955, and the Jersey Central in 56. But Lionel did have other prototypes that they were contemplating bringing out, but never did. And the Southern Pacific number 0000 was one of many of those prototypes that Lionel produced sometime in the mid-50s, but never put into production, and are very rare and seldom ever seen. And it is not listed in the master index. The 8951 here was produced in 1979 by MPC and is close to the prototype with a slightly different paint scheme. Well, this version of the Lionel Southern Pacific Trainmaster was painted in the Black Widow paint scheme. And the original Trainmasters for Southern Pacific were initially painted in this Black Widow paint scheme. So this is really a fairly accurate paint scheme for this locomotive that Lionel did. And later versions of the Southern Pacific Trainmasters were painted in the Bloody Nose, but the early versions were painted in this Black Widow paint scheme. This is what Southern Pacific, I guess, referred to as their freight paint scheme, but they later dropped this paint scheme, I think, just because of cost and the difficulty of painting it. And the 50s version that Lionel brought out of this, the prototype, was a little bit different paint scheme, and it doesn't quite match this paint scheme. It's pretty sharp looking, but it's not an accurate paint scheme. I have some pictures here of that. Well, if you notice in the picture of the original Southern Pacific Trainmaster that was produced in the mid-50s, it had a slightly different paint scheme. Although it was pretty sharp, this is actually a fairly accurate rendition of the actual paint scheme. So, in that regards, it's probably better that they went with the original paint scheme on these rather than the one that they were producing in the mid-50s. I thought this would be a good opportunity to do a run-up session with these Lionel MPC era FM Trainmaster diesels. So I have 4 Lionel models here on the main line, and then 2 Williams. Mainly because, well, the Lionel models had trouble navigating the tighter radiuses. So, starting up here with the Southern Pacific number 8951, this was released in 1979. It is based off of the prototype from the early 50s, mid-50s. These were equipped with dual Polmore motors with a 3-position E unit and magnet traction. And the rest of the Lionel models are similarly equipped. Which leads us to our number 8056, the Chicago and Northwestern. This was released in 1980. And then up here, the number 8157 Santa Fe. These were released 81 and 82. These are considered somewhat rare. They were limited edition. And these were credited for being the first MPC era Trainmaster to have an electronic horn. And then down here is our 2351 Jersey Central. This is a Williams model that's equipped with the True Blast 2 sounds. And then here in the city loop, the 4655 Milwaukee Road. Now, this is the first time I've ever attempted to run a diesel engine this large inside my city. And as you can see there, things are kind of tight in there. So I have an EMS crew on standby in case things go wrong. Well, your Lionel Trainmasters are known for their pulling power, and these MPC versions are no exception to that. In fact, I'm not sure how many cars it would take to keep the engine from pulling, because I just don't have a big enough layout. And even with the quantity of cars I do have behind these, well, it's as if I have no cars behind them. These are not even breaking a sweat. So without further ado, I think it's time to get the show on the road.